It's not as hard as we think to achieve these dreams. All it takes is taking the first step. And what that does is that starts to create momentum. And it also starts to create accountability when you start to share these dreams, right? So what we want to do is we want to create accountability by writing them down, by sharing them. We want to create inspiration by taking small steps of action. And we want to move through the fear of the unknown, right? And the fear of failure and the fear of what other people think. And those are the three barriers that stop us.
Welcome to Engage Presents. I'm Engage co-founder and president Jake Olson. In this interview series, I ask Engage talent the most common questions we hear from event planners to help you get to know them and their stories in 15 minutes or less. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Engage Presents. I'm Engage President Jake Olson. Alongside me today, I usually say a fascinating person, but really fascinating today, Ben Nemtin, #1 New York Times bestseller, motivational speaker, MTV star, the co-founder of the Buried Life movement. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jake. Good to be here.
Awesome, man. So for those who've not heard of the Buried Life movement, maybe never watched the show, kind of explain what it is.
So a number of years ago, when I was in my first year at university in Victoria, British Columbia, I was going through a difficult time in my life. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to succeed in school, and I was on the under-19 national rugby team, so a lot of pressure to succeed in sport. And I put so much pressure on myself that I started to feel these feelings of anxiety. And then I started to feel these feelings of depression, which I'd never experienced before in my life, never had these types of feelings. And I was really, really stuck to the point where I had to drop out of school. I got dropped from the national rugby team because my anxiety stopped me from going to practice. And I became a shut-in my parents' house. I couldn't leave my parents' house. And one of the things that I did, among many things, but one thing that really started to help me turn the corner was I decided to surround myself with people that inspired me, like people that gave me energy versus drew energy from me. And that's something that I still subscribe to this day. It totally changed my life at the time because I sought out one kid in particular that inspired me, and he was a filmmaker. And I had this secret dream of always making a film. And I connected with this kid, and we drew in two other friends, and we decided to start this documentary about a list of dreams and also helping other people achieve their dreams. And one of the reasons I feel like I felt so stuck is because I wasn't living the life that I truly wanted. I was sort of living for other people. And this list of dreams, this bucket list, was a list of all the things that were truly important to me. And so we fundraised, we bought an RV, we bought a secondhand camera on eBay, and we went for a 2-week road trip to go after our bucket list and help other people. And by the way, this was only supposed to be a 2-week road trip where we made a short film, we showed our friends, we went back to school. But what happened was, and by the way, this is before social media. So this is 2006. And we hit the road, and as soon as you start to travel, unexpectedly, people heard about it and they wanted to help. So all of a sudden, all these strangers are saying, oh, I can help you cross off, get up on a hot air balloon. I can help you cross off, ride a bull. I can help you cross off, make a toast at a stranger's wedding. Like my best friend's getting married, I'll get you in. And then people start sending us their dreams asking for our help. So then all of these dreams come in from strangers being like, can you help me fly a fighter jet? Can you help me play Augusta? Right? My dream is to sing a duet with Michael Bublé, which is obviously a Canadian dream. So like we were overwhelmed by the response. And so we just kept doing it. And so this 2-week road trip ends up lasting over a decade.
So the purpose for you as a speaker now, because that's something that you've obviously now do and have mastered. Talk about the purpose behind wanting to share what you've learned to others, and kind of help them chase their dreams.
Yeah, it makes when I'm able to speak to audiences, it's when I feel my best self. Like I get energy from it. And so what I've learned is if you follow your energy, incredible things happen in your life. And that's what the bucket list was for me in day one, was a list of things that were going to energize me to be myself. And so when I found speaking, I became a speaker by accident. I did a TEDx talk in 2015, and someone at the Minnesota Hospital Association saw it asked me to come speak in 2017. And that first year, I did all the hospital associations that could book me that first year. And the next year, I think I did 90 keynotes the second year. And I've been doing over 100 keynotes the last 7 years. And it all happened just because I found this thing that I love to do so much and it energizes me. That's the only way I can do 100 to 150 keynotes a year. As you know, like being on a plane that much, it's hard on your body, but every time I speak, I have that sense of purpose because I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's what fuels me. And so what I'm my hope is for the audiences that I speak to is that they start to do those things that enable them to be the best version of themselves, the most energized version of themselves, so they can bring that to their life, whether they're a father or a mother or a husband or a wife, or to their work, whether they're a leader or whether they are continuing to move forward the mission of their organization.
Yeah, I'm interested. You kind of mentioned how in the beginning of your road trip that there was people who started reaching out with their dreams. Is that a similar response you get when you're done with the keynote? Is people coming up, kind of giving you the Cliff Notes version of maybe a dream they've had and why it hasn't happened yet, and the motivation of going forward? Now they're going to go do that.
Yeah, in fact, now that I've been speaking for 7 or 8 years, I start to see people at conferences that I've seen that saw me speak a number of years ago, and so much so where I just put a section of my website that's labeled attendees dreams accomplished because so many attendees achieve their dream, and it's such an inspiring story. Like I'm just looking at it right now. So Pat, she saw me speak 5 years ago, she wrote down lose 75 pounds. And I saw her 5 years later and she said, Ben, I saw you 5 years ago. I wrote down lose 75 pounds. That day, I wrote that down. And to date, I've lost 112 pounds. So that's a great one. Christine learned to swim. So because she'd never been able to swim and she wanted to swim with her kids. Tom found his biological mom, never met his biological mom, didn't have the courage, was too afraid to look for her.
Mm-hmm.
Found his mom, and his mom came to his wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Yashwanti earned her private pilot license. Kara swam with sharks twice. Ian, his dream was to dunk on an NBA court. So I heard this dream from Ian. I was speaking at the Physical Therapists National Conference. And I was like, this is the perfect audience to make this dream come true, right? And by the way, Ian wasn't at the conference. I'd heard his dream about 3 months earlier. And I was on stage. I said, listen, I met this guy, Ian. His dream is to dunk on an NBA court. A lot of you work with NBA teams or a trainer that works with NBA teams. If you think you can make this happen, come chat with me afterwards. And literally, Jake, I'm not kidding you, 12 invitations for this guy to go and dunk on NBA court. He just did it with the Miami Heat like a month ago. So Melissa became an author. A lot of people write their own books, so that's what's most inspiring is seeing the transformation.
Yes.
And so what we don't understand is that it's not as hard as we think to achieve these dreams. All it takes is taking the first step. And what that does is that starts to create momentum. And it also starts to create accountability when you start to share these dreams, right? So what we want to do is we want to create accountability by writing them down, by sharing them. We want to create inspiration by taking small steps of action. And we want to move through the fear of the unknown, right? And the fear of failure and the fear of what other people think. And those are the three barriers that stop us. And ultimately, all these dreams that I mentioned, these are the regrets that we have at the end of our life if we don't move towards these things. And so what's really powerful is that if you're a leader of an organization and you take the time to identify a dream of your team, a personal KPI, something that's important to them, a passion, right? You show that you care about them as a person. And then because we don't have deadlines for these dreams and we need to create accountability, but all we have in the workplace are structures of accountability with check-ins, with meetings, with one-on-ones. If you insert that personal KPI into your check-in and say, hey, how's writing the book coming? I know that your dream is to write your book. Just want to check in, see how that's going. that's going to drive that person towards that dream. They're going to associate that win with you and with the organization, right? And and that's a place people want to work, where they feel like they can be their true self.
I love it, Ben. That's incredible stuff. I lastly just wanted to kind of leave a little hanger here is your next goal, big goals going to space. So just talk to us a little bit about what you're doing to prepare for that and just what that's going to feel like when you're up there.
Yeah, so this is one of the last four remaining list items. So initially we wrote 100 dreams down. We've crossed off 96 of those original 100 dreams, and so there's four left. But I do want to mention that it's I've added a lot of list items since then, and that's what I always encourage people is your list is dynamic. It evolves as you evolve, right? So as you grow, your list and your dreams and your goals grow with you. And so you always want to check in and continue to add things and take things off you might not want to do anymore, because this is going to be a current reflection of who you are and what your goals are. But back to go to space, I am going after those last original four. And they are make a movie, which is what I'm actively moving towards to finish the documentary film that we started almost 20 years ago. Make the cover of Rolling Stone, which is going to be tricky. Maybe if they do like a pixelated cover, I can be one of the little photos on there. Host Saturday Night Live, also tricky. Maybe I can. Maybe when there's a host up, I could do, or maybe I could do a guest spot, like or I could be an extra in one of the skits, or maybe
Yeah.
playing the triangle in the band in the background. And the last is go to space, which I've partnered up with a company called Worldview, really cool company that uses helium balloon technology, and this is how you sense satellites, or sort of like weather balloons up to the right to the edge of the stratosphere. And so that's what they've done. They've worked with for 20 years with the technology, and you actually don't go out of the stratosphere, so it's actually safer than going up in a rocket. And you go right up to the edge of the stratosphere, so you can see the entire curvature of the Earth, and you hang out there for a bit, and then you come right back down. So that's supposed to happen at the end of 2026.
Well, Ben, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's inspiring stuff. It's life-changing stuff, and you are an excellent example of that, a living, breathing example of there is no such thing as impossible, especially when you apply what you just said. So, thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you for having me, Jake. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and to check out Ben's profile, to book him, obviously, and learn more about what he's doing, maybe even follow him with all the fun things he's going to do. Let'sengage.com. You can check out his profile there, or I know he's all over the place. So, Ben, thank you again, and stay tuned for more Engage Presents.